Hi, this is Jason Huval, broker for Central Metro Realty, and today I'm going to talk about the registration agreement between brokers. This is a form that you would use if you are not sure how you're going to get paid, I guess, from another broker. This came up. I had an agent that was a member of our local MLS, and he wanted to work with a buyer in another MLS system, a neighboring MLS system, but he didn't have their their access. And so typically the MLS system, if you're both members, you don't need this form so long as everybody agrees on, unless I guess you could use it technically if you're trying to get more money from another broker. But if you have a commission rate, let's say it's 2% or 3% or 4%, whatever it is on the MLS system, that is what they agree, that selling broker, that listing broker agrees to pay to the buyer's or cooperating broker, that amount, as long as you're both members. That's the handshake. It's already done for you, so you don't need this form. Again, like I said, our agent had gone to, we're in Austin, and I think it was in San Marcos, just south of us here, market, and which is really close, but a lot of those properties cross our MLS and the CTX MLS. And so we just use this form to make sure that he got his commission. And so just to kind of get right to it, the form is relatively straightforward. This is the listing broker's information here at the top, when the cooperating would be your broker as the buyer, or you can also use this form for leases too. So then that would be you representing a tenant or a buyer. Property, again, pretty straightforward. Registration here, you're registering. This is the prospect. This is your buyer or tenant here. This is your client or customer. That's where you would put them in this line here. Johnny or Susie buyer, Johnny or Susie tenant. The fees here. So for sales, this breaks down how it pays. And what I wanted to kind of highlight is the date here. So if prospect enters into a binding agreement to buy all or part of the property at any price on or before, this is some date. So, we're going to have a 30-day close. I'll put that. That's a bad idea. You might not have a 30-day close. You might have a 180-day close. The buyer may get to it, and I'm sure if you've seen before where the buyer didn't qualify, some little hiccup on their credit, whatever it was. So we have to get that fixed, and maybe that takes 6 months to do. So I would recommend at least 90 days out here, but it's really whatever agreement that you can work out with the other side, with the other party. A year is fine even. But it's this is a negotiated form between you, but between your brokerage and a listing brokerage. So that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The percentage, again, that's a negotiated item, and then or you could even have some kind of flat fee here, and in this section. You could check this box and say maybe it's for $1,000 or $20,000, whatever that is. Now, the fee is payable when listing or principal broker receives listing principal broker's fee under a separate agreement with the owner of the property. Any escrow or closing agent may pay cooperating broker's fee from the listing or principal broker's fee at closing. Now, the only thing really here that you would have to be concerned is that listing principal broker does get a fee, that they did include you in there. And I guess technically I'm not an attorney, I'm a broker. That would just be a messier situation if there was no money there for you. But I would ask them, before I even got this going, and hey, you have a listing agreement with your person and there is money for this? Yeah. Okay, great. Just be my 2 cents on that. Similarly, from sales, we have leases. And so if prospect leases all or part of the property on or before, and then again, this may be pushed out a little bit. Typically with a lease, property may not still be around. But just something to consider again for pushing that back, pushing that out. Percentages of the lease or flat fee. Then it also on here talks about how it's going to be paid in one payment upon, and that could be lease signing or move in or 30 days after move in, some version of that here, or in 2 payments, half of the fee at the time the lease is executed and the remainder of the date the lease commences. Now, a lot of times you see that in commercial. This form is residential. There is a specific commercial form, which I think it's very similar. It might even be the same exact form, just commercial slapped on it. And commercial, a lot of times it'll pay, that's where I've seen more of that, I guess, on our, commercial transactions, where half the lease is at, the time we sign the lease, and the other, you may have some kind of rent abatement or construction period, and you're not moving in for several months. The tenant doesn't move in for several months. After that time, they move in, then the rest of the commission is due. Because some of these commissions on commercial tenants can be rather large. Renewals. If prospect leases all or part of the property and subsequently extends, renews, or expands the lease, including new leases for more or less or different space in the same building or complex for commercial properties, listing principal broker will pay cooperating broker a fee equal to, and then you have another percentage here. This is at renewal or some kind of change in the lease where there's more financial obligation to the party that you brought on. You're trying to get paid again, or it could be, again, box number 2, some flat fee or other arrangement. Now here's where it's really important to note. You say, okay, well, I put this here, so I'm going to get money on the renewal. Well, not necessarily. The fee under this paragraph is payable when the listing principal broker receives their fees for the extension, renewal, expansion under a separate agreement with the owner. This paragraph survives termination of this agreement. Now, this is telling you if the listing broker doesn't get a fee, you don't get a fee. And so you may put here, I'm going to get some money here at renewal. You think you got your, this is going to happen at a renewal, but there's no guarantee, because the guy or gal that listed this thing may not be getting any money on a renewal or any kind of extension or whatever. So you're out. So it's just something to know. Subsequent sale to a tenant. And this section alone is one of the reasons that a lot of leasing agents might like to use this form, even for something that's in the MLS, because this clearly states here, if prospect leases all or part of the property at and later agrees to buy all or part of the property within the term of the lease or within 180 days after the date the lease ends, listing principal broker will pay cooperating broker a fee equal to, and then this is where you could put, again, a percentage or a flat fee. So, and same as the section here on renewal above. This also, the fee under this paragraph is payable at the time the listing broker receives the fee on a separate agreement. So if you had, let's say, for example, a listing broker lists a property for lease, you bring the tenant to them. You use this form and states in here that you're going to get paid if your tenant buys it. 12 months later, your tenant that you placed in this property does end up buying the home from the same agent that it had. Again, this has to be the broker has to have a listing agreement. It has to be the same guy or gal here to have a listing agreement that will to include you. This whole agreement is based on one broker and us, and as the bringing in the tenant, or in this scenario. So if it's not that, again, you're not getting paid. There's no guarantee here that you're going to get paid when your tenant buys this house from a landlord or any broker, unless you have this agreement signed and it's the same, it's the same person basically that you leased the home, that had the home listed for lease. Related parties, if a related party of the prospect agrees to buy or lease all or part of the property within the term of the agreement, cooperating broker will be entitled to all compensation under this agreement as if prospect had acquired the property. Related party means any assignee of the prospect, any family member or relation of prospect, any officer, director, partner, prospect, blah, blah, blah. You get the point here. This is basically if your tenant, maybe they got married, maybe, I don't know, maybe their cousin came in and wanted to buy the house. This ties them to you as well. Then the next section is for addenda. I don't have a good example of addenda to put on here. I can't think offhand of anything that we've added to this agreement. So now I guess I'm not much help there on section 5. And then lastly, your information here that's going to be signed and filled out and signed by everybody. Now, this form is preferred to be signed by a broker directly. For me, for my firm, I prefer to sign these for our agents. It doesn't specifically state here that it has to be signed by the broker, but we like to track, potential commissions or, for receivable purposes, what our agents are doing. And so you may check with your broker if you're an agent watching this video you may check with your broker to see what their preference is. One of the things that I do want to point out here on this renewal, I just hit me on these renewals. Here I'd mentioned this fee being payable is only payable if it was a listing broker that's getting a fee for a renewal or an extension. There's another form. You can check out our other video on 20. So this is 2402. This is a registration between brokers. There's another form, which I think I have here too, because I'm working on that video. This is a registration agreement between broker and owner. That's what you'd use when there's no other broker involved. And check that form out. I think it's 2401. Yeah, 2401. And in that case, on a renewal, you could get paid, if there's no other broker there. And that's one of the main changes here. So it talks about renewals here, but it's the owner here. It says owner will pay broker at the time of the extension renewal. And so you're not counting on another broker getting paid. The owner just will have to pay you. So anyways, I just wanted to make that quick point there. So I hope this helps you out with this form. I know it's not super common, but it will come across. If you do this long enough, you will come across a time that you need to use it. It's relatively straightforward, but as always, if you have any questions with anything, you can always call us or email us at any time. I wish you the best out there, and thanks so much for watching. Again, it's Jason Huval, broker for Central Metro Realty.